What if death wasn't an end, but a threshold? Could consciousness survive beyond the shutting down of the brain? Why do thousands of people across cultures describe eerily similar journeys after clinical death? In this analysis, we explore real cases, medical evidence, and scientific interviews to ask the unthinkable. Is there life after death or something else entirely? Throughout history, humans have tried to pierce the veil between life and death. Ancient Egyptian texts describe the soul's journey through the duat. Tibetan monks recorded guidance for the afterlife in their sacred bardo dardo. The questions they sought to answer are echoed today in a modern medical setting. During near-death experiences, these moments when the body clinically dies, but the mind seems to persist, present us with paradoxes science struggles to explain. One of the most famous and widely studied cases is that of Pam Reynolds in 1991. Reynolds underwent a high-risk operation known as hypothermic cardiac arrest, where her body temperature was lowered to 60 degrees Fahrenheit, her heartbeat and brain waves ceased entirely. Clinically, she was dead. Yet following her recovery, she recounted vivid perceptions of her surgical surroundings, descriptions confirmed by the surgical team. She claimed to observe from above, recording specific instruments, conversations, and even songs playing in the room, despite being unconscious and monitored via electroencephalogram. Another compelling story comes from Dr. Tony Sikoria, an orthopedic surgeon who was struck by lightning in 1994. He flatlined briefly, and after revival reported seeing his deceased mother and experiencing an overwhelming sense of peace. But what puzzled him most was the sudden, intense urge to play classical piano, despite never having studied music. He would go on to compose and perform, attributing the transformation to his NDE. He described it as receiving a downloads from somewhere beyond. Then there is Anita Morjani, who fell into a coma in 2006 from terminal lymphoma. While unresponsive, she later claimed to have entered a realm of unconditional loves where she understood the root of her illness. Miraculously, her tumours began to shrink upon awakening. Within weeks, she was declared cancer-free. Her case has since been studied by both oncologists and consciousness researchers as an example of spontaneous remission possibly linked to mind-body connection insights gained during NDEs. In the Soviet Union, Rev. George Rodonaya, a neuropathologist and atheist, was pronounced dead for 3 days following a car accident. During that time, he later claimed to have had profound spiritual experiences, observing people's thoughts and feeling immersed in a field of all-knowing consciousness. When his body moved during embalming, doctors realized he was still alive. He later became a priest and recounted his story internationally. Though controversial, his experience contributes to a global pattern of vivid and transformative NDE accounts. Don Piper's 1989 experience also left investigators baffled. Following a head-on collision, he was declared dead at the scene for 90 minutes. Paramedics covered his body, but when a passing pastor prayed over him, he began to stir. Piper claimed he had been in heaven, describing brilliant gates, ethereal music, and welcoming figures. Though critics questioned the verifiability, his case helped shift the public conversation around the possibility of post-death awareness. While NDEs often sound anecdotal, numerous physicians and researchers have investigated them scientifically. Dr. Sam Parnia, lead investigator of the AWARE studies, has extensively studied cardiac arrest patients. He reports cases of verifiable perception during periods of flatline brain activity. Dr. Bruce Grayson, a professor of psychiatry at University of Virginia, developed the Grayson scale to quantify NDE features. He argues that the consistency across reports suggests something beyond mere hallucination. And Dr. Jeffrey Long, founder of the Near-Death Experience Research Foundation, Defy, has collected thousands of global cases, noting consistent themes of light, detachment, The AWARE-2 study, concluded in 2022, recorded brain activity and consciousness markers in cardiac arrest survivors. Notably, some subjects described accurate external events occurring during periods with no measurable electroencephalogram activity. Although the sample size was small and the mechanism remains unclear, these findings add credibility to NDE claims and support further funding for studies into consciousness beyond clinical death. Skeptics counter with neurological theories. Oxygen deprivation, endorphin release, or even DMT discharges could explain visual and emotional elements, but these do not account for veridical perceptions, specific memories of unseen events occurring while clinically dead. Furthermore, cultural similarities persist across age, religion, and geography, making purely psychological interpretations less satisfying. So where does this leave us? The data is inconclusive but provocative. If consciousness continues despite brain inactivity, as several NDEs suggest, our understanding of mind and self must evolve. Could it be that consciousness is not produced by the brain, but merely filtered through it, a view increasingly explored in quantum biology and theoretical physics? As we close this exploration, we are left with more questions than answers. Are NDEs glimpses into another dimension, or simply the last flickers of a dying brain? Why do the experiences inspire such profound life changes if they're mere illusions? The answers, for now, lie beyond the veil, awaiting those who cross it and return to tell their story.